I'm Seafarer, host of Comic Showcase and writer of the Starbolts webcomic, and you're listening to Nerd to the Third Power for all your nerdy needs.
Hello again, Cheeky Monkeys, and welcome to another episode of Nerd to the Third Power, your one-stop shop for all things nerdy and awesome. I'm your host, Master of Ceremonies, Dr. Gonzo. With me, as always, this epic quest of awesomeness is our resident anime goddess, the Cat. Cat, how you doing?
Oh, surviving.
Okay, all right. So some days, that's all you can really ask for.
Seriously.
All right, and with us in our other co-pilot's chair is our resident European, Skyblaze. Skyblaze, how you doing?
I'm going to 3 conventions in a month. I think I finally lost my goddamn mind.
Really? That recently? I figured you lost it somewhere around episode 42.
There had been like tiny shreds of it left. I think they have finally escaped.
Elvis has left the building for you, huh?
Uh-huh.
Or you could have picked a British person. But you know, Elvis, sure.
Well,
might be Elvis Costello.
Okay.
Girls, you're both pretty. All right, and that brings us to our correspondence corner. Brian and John, how are you guys doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm kind of slowly waking my own self up from a long days of work, but otherwise, I'm doing fantastic.
That late night text was not my fault. I'm sorry.
Yes, it was.
Anyway, we got a show for you guys tonight. A good show. A show that we've really been looking forward to. Guardians of the Galaxy. A film that 4 out of the 5 of us have been really looking forward to, and I was kind of sort of ambivalent on, but I think I've been made a believer. But yes, of course, there is protocol to follow, so we're going to start our show, as always, with Ask a Geek. Okay, first question here is for Cat. Cat, as a big dinosaur nut, what are your thoughts on the upcoming Jurassic World?
We really need to stop beating the dead horse, in this case a Triceratops or something. Stop making unnecessary sequels. I love dinosaurs, but I don't love shitty movies about dinosaurs. And I just don't understand how this movie can possibly be any good. So I'm really not looking forward to it at all.
All right, next question here is for Brian from Larry. And he wants to know if you know of any good foreign comics that you might be able to recommend.
Oh, man. This is going to make me sound terrible. Not off the top of my head. Mostly because a lot of times, A, we either don't get them, or B, they're rare and I don't necessarily read them. So I am sort of I'm sort of out. I have really nothing to go on in terms of foreign comics. If you count Tintin, because Tintin was actually produced over in Europe, I would say definitely pick up some Tintin books. They're amazing. They're great. They're great sort of action adventure books. Other than that, I got nothing.
Well, if I might chime in, I recently rediscovered the Cyber 6 cartoon series that ran on television in the 90s. And discovered that it was actually based on a comic book series. So if you're able to read French, definitely look those up. I actually got a friend who translated the text for me over Skype. So I had to go a little ghetto to understand what was going on. But yeah, you know, that's a character I'd like to see come back. Cyber 6. Jesus.
I personally am rather fond of Black Sad and Skydoll and a couple of other different weird European comics. What's that one with the little guy with the big nose and the Viking helmet? Asterix?
Obelisk and Asterix, I believe?
Yeah, that one's
Asterix was awesome.
Yeah, I was about to say, he's also a ton of fun. There's a lot of really good European comics, but most of their names are just flying right out of my head right now.
Yeah, Asterix is definitely worth a look. Anything from the 2000 AD line, usually worth a look. Just saying.
Alrighty, next question is for me, and it is from Sarah, and she wants to know what are some of my favorite game mods. Ooh. Oh, so many. All right. Brutal Doom is amazing. If you don't know what that is, it's basically Doom taken to a triple R rated level. Version 20, I think, is due out later this year, but it's amazing. If you have a copy of the original Doom WADs, definitely look up Brutal Doom. I've also been having a lot of fun with the Half-Life 2 cinematic mod. If you haven't looked that up yet, there's a video on YouTube where they compare the vanilla Half-Life 2 textures to the cinematic mod, and oh my god, it looks like almost a completely different game. And of course, Black Mesa. I can't talk about Half-Life without talking about Black Mesa, the complete fan-made remake of Half-Life 1. So definitely check that out if you have a chance. That one's free, full and completely distributed over on the Black Mesa website, and it's done so with Valve's blessing. So no need for piracy warnings. Let's see if we got one here for all of us. Okay. Oh, here's a good one. Here's a good one for all of us. What is a television show that you would like to see canceled and erased from existence? One that's currently running. This one is from Regina, and it's for all of us. So what is a currently running television series that you'd like to see just canceled immediately? Skyblaze, to start with you on this one.
Oh, Gordon Bennett, I don't watch telly anymore because Alt Neil, how about half of it's shite? I'd be here all day. I don't know. Pick a shitty reality show. One less shitty reality show in this world will make me a happier person.
Okay. All right, John. What about you?
I would shed no tears for Family Guy.
Ooh.
I would shed no tears for Family Guy at all.
All right, Kat. What about you?
Well, I will see your controversial statement and raise you NCIS.
Ooh.
Oh, we're gonna get some emails.
Yeah, for the gross misrepresentation of how anybody fucking does anything with the military.
Wow, I don't think I can top that. Brian, why don't you go ahead while I see if I can't come up with a good one.
I mean, I'll try my best. This is, I will admit, this is kind of a mean question, because we're basically saying, who do we want to see get fired? And not just actors, but anyone who works on the show. Geez, I'm kind of with Skyblaze. I've not watched a lot of big television in a long time, so I honestly don't really know too many things that get canceled, per se. I don't really know. I could go with low-hanging fruit, who sort of maybe after.
Isn't that
what
on
people...
AMC?
No, it's not.
Low-hanging fruit.
You son of a bitch.
No, that's totally HBO.
What I mean to say was, I will say this show to make everyone sort of be happy with us again. We could probably do without the Big Bang Theory.
Oh,
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And now everyone likes us again.
Yay! No angry emails, please, guys.
Oh, let's see. John already said Family Guy, so that I can't really give a Seth MacFarlane answer without sort of just again plucking at low-hanging fruit.
Well, he only has 2 shows.
Well,
Only 2 right
now. Well, yeah, no. Cleveland show got canceled.
Oh, it did, didn't it? I don't know. I have such a difficult time differentiating between the shows.
Although I do have to be fair to Seth MacFarlane, let it never be said that he's not a good sport, because the first episode of Family Guy that came out after Cleveland show was canceled was just Peter, Joe, and Quagmire ripping into Cleveland for how bad his show was.
Wow. Kind of want to look that up now.
Let it never be said that he's not a good sport. But let's see, a TV show that I would like to see go away. I think Dr. Oz needs to shut the fuck up. And this comes from something that's going on in my life right now. I don't know if anybody knows this. I'm in a bit of a health crisis right now. I'm trying to bring my cholesterol down from the near 500 that it was. And my mom is big into Dr. Oz. And she's always like, "Oh, Billy, you need to turn on Dr. Oz. He's got this thing about reducing your cholesterol and reducing your triglycerides." And I'm just like, "No, Mom, I have a real doctor to tell me how to take care of my body. I don't need a Dr. Phil knockoff. No, I don't need that." So Dr. Oz needs to shut the fuck up. Alright, well, that's about all the questions that we have for Nerd to the Third Power for Ask Geek this week. As always, you can send this to us through the email at billysmith@channelawesome.com, or you can drop them in the That Guy with Glasses forum thread. Or, Producer Tom is also kind enough to, every week, put a thread up on the Facebook asking for Ask a Geek questions, although he didn't do so this week, which means he gets to go in the pain glove for a couple hours. So, John, you're going to have to clean up the mess that you made in there.
Alright, fine. Let me just sweep out the Cheeto crumbs.
So, we're going to just jump straight from there into our headlines. So, Brian, we're going to start with you this week. Take it away.
Well, thank you. This week on the Multiverse headlines, I'm in a bit of a unique situation. I actually don't have any headlines. San Diego Comic-Con sort of swallowed them all up, and I'm in a bit of a dry spell until a news story breaks. So I'm going to do something a little bit different. We're discussing Guardians of the Galaxy this week, and I know a lot of people really enjoyed this film. They may actually ask the questions of, where can I read or see more of these characters? Well, I'm here to help in sort of a guide of different cosmic lines that I really enjoyed that were sort of the basis of this film. The first book I want to sort of give it to everyone is called Annihilation. It was actually the big event that sort of helped bring new life into the Marvel cosmic line. After that, you have the first, not the first Nova, but one of the Nova books to follow through it. The first volume called Annihilation Conquest. It's cool because you had the Nova Corps in the movie. Now you can sort of read about Nova and the Nova Corps in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and get yourself ready for whenever their spin-off movie comes to the screen. After that is the Guardians of the Galaxy book. The first volume is called Legacy. This is where you see those characters come together. The characters on the screen sort of came from this book. The tone may be a little bit different, but is a good starting location for everyone there. After that is the Thanos Imperative. This is cool because this is what those books were leading up to. You get to learn more about them and a little bit more about Thanos, who is a big player in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It is probably one of my more favorite cosmic books outside of Annihilation. After that, you have Annihilators, which is sort of a cosmic adventure book. You have a lot of different cosmic characters coming together on almost Avenger-esque tales. In that book is one of my favorite characters, Beta Ray Bill. So you can finally learn why I like this character so much. Other characters include the Silver Surfer and also Ronan the Accuser, so you can try to learn a little bit more about him and not so much the one-dimensional that was in the film itself. Outside of that, there's also a couple new Nova series and a new Guardians of the Galaxy series available, written by Brian Michael Bendis. All of these books are available at your local comic book shop, and if they're not there, you can always try a Barnes & Noble or online at Amazon.com, or if you decide you just want to read them digitally, Comixology also has them at more discounted prices than you can find online or in the shop. Well, that's all the time I have for you right now. I'm going to turn everything over to my film collecting correspondent, Projectionist John. John, take it away.
Thanks, Brian. Well, without further ado, let's dive into the movie bin and see what we've got this week. We begin today with 4 instances of a movie being translated into a TV series. Not exactly an unheard of phenomenon, nor even necessarily a bad thing, as any Buffy fans in the audience would tell you, but it's kind of interesting to see so many of these projects being announced at once. Here's the short list of the ones of which I am currently aware. First off, we've got MTV casting for leads in the series based on self-aware slasher classic Scream, which is apparently looking to shoot a pilot soon. As far as I can tell, based on the thin plot details that have been posted so far, the television series has nothing to do with perpetual survivor Sydney's repeated run-ins with killers in the infamous Ghostface mask, but again, details are pretty sketchy. Details are even sketchier for another horror-based franchise coming to the television realm, Evil Dead. All we know about that project is that Sam Raimi is developing it, Bruce Campbell is involved, and it will probably be a hell of a lot less graphic than any of the movies that bear its name. Don't worry though, not all of the projects I'm here to report on are horror. For instance, I'm also here to inform you guys that Chronicle screenwriter Max Landis is working on the script for one of Douglas Adams' slightly less famous characters, Dirk Gently, owner of Dirk Gently's holistic detective agency. Details beyond the fact that he's writing the script are, of course, sketchy, including little tidbits like whether this is a pilot or a miniseries or perhaps a planned arc for an entire season of television. The last item on our list, however, has been confirmed for a full season at least. and that would be School of Rock, one of the better Jack Black movies, which will apparently be getting its rebirth on Nickelodeon. Hey, stranger things have happened. After all, if you can believe the rumors, there might even be a Scanners TV series in the works, but let's not let our heads explode over that one. Speaking of things that can make your head explode, the X-Men Cinematic Universe continuity. It was reasonably straightforward up through X3, even if that did completely fuck up all the characters, and X-Men Origins Wolverine, even if that did completely fuck up all the everything. But it started to get a little bit hazy with First Class, as that movie seemed to retcon several elements of previous films, and we went into full-blown timey-wimey shenanigans when X-Men Days of Future Past kinda left the continuity even more messed up. Fortunately, X-Men producer Simon Kinberg has spoken out to set the record straight, so listen up, ladies and gents. You can basically forget everything that happened before First Class because the slate has effectively been wiped clean. Quoth the Maven, "We sort of reset the clock on Days of Future Past, and so a lot could have changed from that point in 1973 forward, meaning people could have been born earlier, the whole world changed after those events, so things that were represented in X1, X2, and X3 wouldn't have happened in quite the same way." Well, I guess that's pretty cut and dry. And while it may infuriate some fanboys, I personally think there's no price too high to pay to undo the stupidity that was X3. We know there's a Sinister Six movie coming in 2016, and we also know that allegedly there will be an Amazing Spider-Man 3 in 2018, but what about that oft-promised Venom movie? Well, not only are we apparently still going to be getting that, but Deadline has just blithely dropped the news that apparently Carnage is going to be playing a role in it. Oh boy, you want to talk about potentially biting off more than you can chew. But if all that weren't enough, Deadline has also reported that Sony is planning a yet-to-be-announced female-led superhero movie for sometime in 2017. And yes, it will be a character from within the Spider-Man universe. Could it be Black Cat? Spider-Woman? Someone else entirely? There is no way to be sure until we at least get a title. But hey, you guys know that when I know anything more about any of these projects, I'll share that info with you.
Well, the past week has had two big pieces of news, so I'm just going to talk about those today. First off, the Japanese government has announced that they'll be launching a large-scale anti-piracy campaign to protect the anime and manga industries. The Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry has revealed its Manga Anime Guardians project, whose purpose will be to monitor and remove illegally uploaded and distributed copies of anime and manga. According to the METI, online piracy hurts Japan by nearly $20 billion annually, with estimates that over half of US fans indulge in pirated works. The project is part of the Manga Anime Anti-Piracy Committee, which includes major studios and publishers like Aniplex, Kadokawa, Kodansha, Sunrise, Shueisha, Shogakukan, Ghibli, Tezuka, Toei, everybody basically. And while this may sound like a wholly new thing, this is essentially a renewed effort to enforce a law that was enacted in 2012. The law punishes both those illegally uploading files as well as those downloading them. Downloaders can face up to 2 years in prison, with uploaders facing a potential 10. The government and their partners will be contacting 580 overseas pirate sites asking they remove copyrighted content. A large part of the efforts will be directed at China, to whom the ministry estimates they've lost $5.5 billion to last year alone. Whether this will have any real impact towards saving the industry, well, only time will tell. On to the big trending topic of the week, Studio Ghibli. Well, if you're a nerd and you've logged onto Facebook in the past couple of days, you've heard the sudden startling rumor that Studio Ghibli is officially closed for business. Calm down, take a few deep breaths, and let's talk this through. Despite the panicked and saddened reports flying around the internet, Studio Ghibli has not completely shut down its production department as the early reports indicated. The misinformation was due in part to a translation error by the Tumblr user who translated the original TV broadcast announcement. First off, when all of your sources just go back to a Tumblr post with a few parts that don't make sense grammatically, beware translation error should flash red in your mind. Kotaku and Anime News Network followed some hours later with a different translation that made the announcement sound a little more vague and kind of up in the air. According to ANN, Ghibli co-founder and current representative Suzuki Toshia was on the TBS program Jonetsu Tairiku discussing the company's future when he postured that the company may consider dismantling the production department. He emphasized that most realistically they are considering restructuring or house cleaning to revamp the studio for a future generation of animators. For those who found this news to be sudden, there have actually been been rumors the past several weeks that something like this might happen. In Suzuki's interview, he admitted that it would be impossible to go on making movies forever, but the studio would like to take a break and decide where to go from here. So it sounds like Ghibli will be taking a hiatus to decide how to direct their efforts from now on. They could stop production and just manage their trademarks from here on out, as the rumors say, but hopefully they'll really be looking at ways to innovate the company. In a way, if they break to restructure, I think this might actually be a good thing. We hear so much about studios failing and struggling, or most of the time companies are just trying to stay afloat and protect their profits. So on the rare occasion we hear about the old guard taking action to make sure the next generation story is told, it's a little heartwarming, even though it is actually terrifying to think that Studio Ghibli really could close their doors at any time. And that's really all I've got going on in the anime and manga world. Over to you, Dr. Gonzo.
All right, and that's all the headlines we have for this week. We're going to take a quick musical break. When we come back, Guardians of the Galaxy. Is it the awesome, amazing second coming of Christ that everyone has hyped up this movie to be, or was it a turd stinker? Stay tuned. We got a lot of fun stuff ahead.
I wonder what you would say if I came walking around your way, calling out your name. I'm gonna find a better way to reach you. The best habit I ever had, if you only knew. I said, hey, are you so beautiful? Are you so beautiful? I said, are you so beautiful? You're so beautiful. I found a better way. I'm gonna knock you right off your throne. I wonder if you are, yeah. Afraid of being alone. Well, aren't we all? Hey, what I said. Are you so beautiful?
All right, and we are back. And this week we are discussing a film that most of us were really looking forward to, coming up to kind of an oddball of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and that's Guardians of the Galaxy, which I'm going to just be completely honest. Before this movie was announced, I had no knowledge of the existence of this property, so I'm coming into this blind. So, Brian, why don't you give us a brief rundown of the Guardians of the Galaxy as a group of characters?
The Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, I'm going to be very honest here too. I'm not the biggest fan of the Guardians of the Galaxy. They're at least this incarnation, because there's been a couple. But the Guardians of the Galaxy is usually a group of. The best way to sort of describe them is a group of space hustlers kind of situation. They're just, you have Star-Lord, you have Groot the Tree, you've got Rocket Raccoon, even though he doesn't like being called a raccoon. Gamora and Drax, and they go around guarding the galaxy. Like, that's what they do is in their name. And they've kind of worked for people before. They're sort of not necessarily mercenaries or bounty hunters, but they kind of have their own deal, their own plan, and they kind of go back and forth and all that sort of good stuff. And like I said, I was never really a huge fan, so I didn't really read a lot of the Guardians books before the movie came out or anything like that. So I was coming into it not sort of clean. I was just kind of like, I know who generally you guys are. What else can you do? I'm doing a truth be told, this is a terrible write-up, so I'm pretty sure anyone could probably skip this, to be quite honest.
I do have a question. I've been told that this particular incarnation of the team with the 5 Star-Lord, Rocket, Groot, Gamora, and Drax is not the original roster, but this is a version of the team that first got together in 2008. Is that right?
That is correct. This is called this is Abnett. This is Dan Abnett's and
Who is amazing.
Well, no, he also had, I forgot. Oh man, I feel bad because it's. I forget his co-writer on this, but this is their book, their team that they put together several years ago when Marvel sort of relaunched their cosmic line. And this was like one of the books that was sort of the central part of their cosmic line that came out during that time. Since then, the book has been sort of restarted every couple of years or so. And it's been basically the same roster through that time. Now they're sort of adding guest stars every so often. Like Iron Man was a guest star for a couple of storylines, and now I think Venom is going to be guest starring in a couple of their storylines in the future, and I believe Captain Marvel will be guest starring in some future storylines as well. So it's sort of the weird. Now it's sort of like the Guardians of the Galaxies and their special guest stars, very Scooby-Doo-esque almost.
Alright, so let's open the floor here. General thoughts on this movie. Kat, why don't we start with you?
My God, was this movie good? So unexpectedly good. Like, just sort of, you go in not really knowing what you're getting into, and you're like, I gotta go see it because it's a Marvel movie, and okay, the trailer looks decent.
And you know Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is going to reference it at some point.
Exactly, and you just go in and you laugh your ass off and have an amazing time, and you're like, holy shit! I didn't realize I was a fan until now, but holy shit!
Okay, John, what about you?
The first time I reported on this in my headlines, I think I was like, this is the next movie Marvel's doing! Nobody knows who these guys are! Including me, I had no idea what to think about it, but the more I saw about what they were doing with this and where they were going with this, the more interested I got in it. And by the time they started the big marketing push and that whole campaign where they just had a poster of all the characters and it just said, "You're welcome," on it, I was like, you know what, this can't help but be awesome. It's been a long time since we've had a sci-fi movie that just didn't take itself super, super crazy seriously. I mean, this movie has a walking tree voiced by Vin Diesel and a pyromaniac raccoon voiced by Bradley Cooper. There is no way this cannot be fantastic. So I went in with high expectations and I was not disappointed. for the most part.
Brian, what about you?
Well, I remember the other author's name. It's Andy Lanning. Sorry about that. There's my memory kicked back in. I mean, yeah, I sort of enjoyed it, but, I got to lay everything out on the table. Like I said before, I wasn't really a fan of these characters before, and I'm still not really a fan of the characters afterwards. It didn't hinder my enjoyment of said film, but at the same time, I sort of walked out going, all right, that was done. What's next? I wasn't, I guess, as excited, I think, as a lot of people were. Maybe cynicism's taking me over. You guys got to help me.
What are you talking about? We're the most cynical assholes on the planet.
All right, fine. Don't help me. All right, on to you, Gonzo. What did you think of the film?
Well, I think I've made it clear at several points in the show that I was not enthusiastic about this film. I saw the first trailer, and I was like, this just looks stupid as hell. In fact, really, the only reason I agreed to see this movie was because everybody else strong-armed me into it.
Really? I strong-armed? Hey, want to see a Marvel movie? Yeah, I think that's what happened.
Okay, well, everybody else wanted to see it, and I wanted to be popular, so there.
Peer pressure.
But I started to come around when I randomly got a Rocket Raccoon comic, and I was like, okay, all right, this is actually pretty funny. I'll give the movie a fair shake, and I was really pleasantly surprised. This movie was a lot of fun. It was a real popcorn movie. One of the common criticisms that I've heard from people about the Marvel movies of late is that they take themselves really seriously. They try too hard to be epic, whereas Guardians of the Galaxy was just like, you know what, fuck it, let's just chuck frogs around and have some fun. And it was really nice to see not just a sci-fi film, but just a film that is willing to have fun. And it was also, the more I think about it, it was very much a gamble on Marvel's part, and it seems to have paid off. So maybe they'll be a little more daring with their films in the future. So
I kind of have to disagree with that. We all sort of like, yeah, this is sort of a gamble. This is sort of a gamble because no one really knew the characters or anything like that. But at the same time, you have such you have almost a Pixar-esque track record that people are going to see it. You're going to get in there. And inside the film itself, which we'll probably get into later, they didn't take a lot of risks inside the film. I really don't think this was a gamble. I think they kind of knew what they had, and they said, all right, let's go.
Well, then that brings us to the next part of the show, where we break the film down to its component pieces. So let's start, as always, with the plot and the script. So, Brian, why don't you give us a brief rundown of the plot and script of Guardians of the Galaxy?
The plot of the Guardians of the Galaxy is definitely the origin story of this team and how they sort of all got together. You see our hero Chris Pratt, Star-Lord, and being abducted as a child, then very fast forward moved into when he's an adult, being all Star-Lordy, which is going to be a verb now. Everything he does is Star-Lordy.
Technically, that's an adjective.
You know what? F your grammar. And so what happens is that he gets his hand on this little bit of an orb, and everyone sort of else wants this orb. Thanos wants this orb. He shows up in the film, but then also his guys who kidnapped him as a child, and he was working for the Ravagers. They want this orb, and everything sort of circles around this orb. So, and he usually meets Rocket because he gets it before his old boss gets a bounty. They all try to get it, but they all sort of meet in prison. And so everything's about sort of trying to get rid of whatever this orb is, and everyone has sort of their own reasons for doing what they can. So they all sort of meet in prison, they break out of prison, they travel around the galaxies, they have a few misadventures, and then at the very end they all come together as a team finally and stop Ronan the Accuser from destroying a planet. Not the worst plot I've ever heard, but it's sort of like I said, not a lot of. I don't think there was a lot of risk in this plot. We've seen this before in other things. Just I believe this film did them better.
Okay, what about the rest of you guys? What did you guys think of the script?
Well, the script. Let me start that thought over. The script has a lot going for it. The primary thing it's got going for it is basically the strength of the personalities of the main characters, the 5 Guardians themselves. Each of them has a pretty distinct personality. Each of them has some wonderfully memorable lines and amusing moments. They don't perfectly get along with each other, but it's not in that really, really forced sort of way that you see in a lot of these team coming together movies where they're like, oh, well, we're going to have rivalries for no particular reasons. No, to me it felt like their personalities just naturally sometimes rubbed each other the wrong way, and I enjoyed the fact that every single one of them was simultaneously really, really competent and really, really incompetent at the same time. It was a really excellent balance because, you know, yeah, everyone, they know what they're doing to an extent, but they kind of keep getting into these situations where they're having to call upon skills that they don't necessarily have, and they're just kind of flailing and stumbling their way into something that approximates victory. I will say that the biggest weakness of this script is honestly the villains and the conflict itself. I don't know a whole lot about Ronan the Accuser in the comics. I do know that he's... I don't know, I just found him incredibly boring. I'm just gonna lay that on the table. He was boring. But a lot of Marvel's villains have been, so in the movie version, so I don't know.
Kat, what about you? What are your thoughts on the script?
I loved the script. I thought everything was pretty brilliantly written. Like we said, it's one that finally here's something that doesn't take itself too seriously, and it's just out there to have fun and be a popcorn movie, and yet be a space opera. And I can't even think of the last time that we had a space opera that you could primarily call a comedy, like an action comedy. Really, really great. I love this movie so much.
Okay. I'll tell you something that I noticed that I felt the film really had going for it, and that was its pacing. There was action and comedy and character development, but they were all spaced out in such a way that no one element really overpowered the others. So there was sort of an equal spacing between Rocket blowing everything up and, you know, the quiet introspective moments of character, and then, you know, the comedy bits. So nothing. I felt like the script was very evenly composed. There wasn't anything that really overpowered the other elements. So now let's talk a little bit about the cast. What did you guys think of the casting of this film?
Everyone fit, I think, except for Ronan. Because, well, Ronan, again, had really bad characterization. But everyone seemed... Because Chris Pratt is a very comedic actor. So I was trying to figure out exactly what he was going to bring to the table. Star-Lord. So I'm glad that he was very funny, but also not dumb like his Park and Rec's counterpart is. So to have him be like, I'm very smart and I'm very witty and I kind of know what I'm doing, but I'm also a huge dork.
Can I just ask a question? Am I the only one who, whenever Chris Pratt was on screen, half expected him to start breaking out into chorus of "Everything is awesome"?
Well, it would have been kind of fitting for the proceedings, so...
But like in terms of like Chris, like I said, he did a really good job. I think the only person, everyone did a great job, especially Vin Diesel. Vin Diesel as Groot, perfect casting, thumbs up.
I'm amazed at how well they actually worked that. Like, I remember thinking when I heard that he could only say "I am Groot," that it would kind of get old pretty quickly. But they found some way that weirdly made it fresh.
Well, here's what they did. They got the guy that Vin Diesel worked with on the Iron Giant to come back. This isn't for the first time Vin Diesel's been up to bat to voice a character with limited vocabulary. You know, he's old hat at this.
This is true.
He's found his niche.
What about you, Kat? Were there any standouts in the cast for you?
Well, I thought Brian had a thought to finish.
I did have a thought to finish, and mostly because the only person I still can't take seriously is Batista as an actor. I'm hugely biased against him. I've had bad experience with him and his agent in the past. So whenever, and not to mention, he was the weakest part of Man with the Iron Fist as well. So when he was like, "I'm Drax," I'm like, "Oh, really? You couldn't find someone else with huge muscles?" And so I know a lot of people are going to disagree. It's like, I think he did a great job. It's like, yeah, he did a great job being his own sort of version of his own dork version of I take everything literally. but I just can't get behind him as an actor. I really can't. I'm sorry, everybody.
I heard he took acting classes.
He did take
help.
It only
bolster
took
his
him
acting
3
skills.
movies. Sorry.
He did take acting classes. I don't know. He was probably the worst actor of the group, but I found that it weirdly worked for his character.
Yeah.
Like that kind of wooden delivery and that taking everything literally and just like not getting it when people are talking to him. Just I don't know. I felt he made it work for Drax.
Yeah, he didn't have a lot of subtlety, like his body movements and his facial expressions. There was no real subtlety there, and God knows there didn't need to be because it's Drax.
And I will give credit, though. I will give credit to the film because he didn't do his wrestling finishing move, and every wrestler in every movie I've ever seen them in, they always do their finishing move for some unknown fucking reason. So I'm glad someone had the reins on that. Like, no, you fight with these knives. Not powerbombing people through tables. Have fun. Okay.
Drax is like, oh, fine.
I want to take a moment to sing the praises of Bradley Cooper as Rocket. He was hands down my favorite character in this film.
He was the one I was most looking forward to. As a matter of fact, whenever I talked about going to see this movie, I didn't even call it Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm like, I'm off to see Space Raccoon.
But just the way that he portrayed the character, even before his breakdown in the bar when he got hammered and started, wailing about the injustice in his life, you really kind of got a sense of listening to him talk that this was a character who he was really kind of just blustering to keep himself from breaking down crying. And I really love the scene in the bar where he finally just breaks down and is like, no, you know what, fuck it, my life is shit. You think your life is bad? Let me tell you about my life. I'm a fucking lab experiment. I don't even want to be here right now. And yet here I am surrounded by a bunch of psychopaths. So I thought Rocket really was the shining character in this film.
He did kind of steal like every scene that he was in, if for no other reason than he's a fucking talking raccoon with a gun. I mean, I would see the movie on the premise of Rocket Raccoon alone. Just that. That's all I need.
Well, good news. They may be doing that.
Sweet.
I know he's got his own comic starting this month. So okay. Kat, what were some standouts for you that haven't been named?
Well, I'm gonna call out to the girls because I really liked Gamora and Nebula, and maybe not one or the other separately, but I liked them together as a pair of sort of, even though it's not really central and it's not really important to the story, but a pair of like a bit of sibling rivalry that ends in a cat fight. I mean, the cat fight you knew was going to happen because there's 2 girls in a movie, but I really liked their dynamic together as 2 people who really, really, really hate their father and show it in completely different ways.
Yeah, Thanos is a terrible father. He is an absolute. He is like worst father of the year. Because both of his daughters at the first moment they can, like, yeah, I'm betraying him. Yeah, this is not happening. He's a dick.
You see what he did to me? He's a dick.
That Galaxy's Greatest Dad mug.
Vader gets it every year. I also really liked the side characters. Like, I liked the Nova Corps people. I liked Glenn Close. I really liked John C. Reilly, even though they didn't have big parts or anything. I just liked having, interesting little side characters there to just kind of enhance the rest of the story and be convenient. But I liked them. I thought they were really well done.
Can I say how like kind of weirdly surprising and surreal it is to see Glenn Close in this movie?
It's the hair. Very Dr. Zeus-esque hair.
Okay. All right. So we've talked about the script, the plot and the script. We've talked about the cast. Now let's talk about the film's visual presentation. What did you think of the effects and the visuals in this film?
Well, I mean,
it's almost hard to talk about because everything was so perfect. In my opinion, anyway. I thought everything was gorgeous. I really thought, how can you do something with a talking raccoon and a walking, talking tree guy and make that look realistic? Have that come out of, a comic book page. Make that look realistic and believable and entertaining. And they did it, and it's unfucking believable, and they did it.
What for me, like, what they did, I think, was actually a really smart move, is that they Kirby'd up the space. And what I mean by Kirby'd up, I mean Jack Kirby'd it up. So there's just colors and shit everywhere. You know, there wasn't like a spot where it was just blackness and stars. Like, no, like, that's a galaxy, that's a nebula, that's a giant floating head. Color, 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 color. We will colorblind you. This is what space is to us. It's just fucking colors. And that was probably like one of the best decisions that you could make, because it felt different. You know, this isn't gravity. This is something completely different than you would normally see space as.
Yeah, it's what everyone said. The visuals in this movie are basically perfect. They service the story and the characters without being completely overwhelming. I mean, with Rocket and Groot, you have two creatures that are made entirely out of CG, even though there was some motion capture involved in their performances. So they have to look good, and good in a way that's not, like, intrusively so. You know what I mean? They have to look good, but not distracting. And basically, the movie nailed it. The aesthetics, the look, everything just flat out nailed it.
I like how distinct every character looked. There's a rule in game character design called the silhouette rule, which is that you should be able to look at a character in silhouette and know at a glance who they are. This is most evident in, like, Team Fortress 2, and I really liked how they sort of played to that in this film. Each character had their own very distinctive design that fit with their character and who they were and made them seem unique. Like, even near the end of the film, where they're all wearing Ravager uniforms, everyone looks unique, everybody looks different, everybody looks like an entity unto themselves. And I thought that was really cool.
I would also put out there that all of the different peoples all look different. Because, I mean, we're dealing with people from several different planets in the scope of the movie, and we have, you know, blue people and green people and pink people, and even though everyone's basically humanoid, it feels spacey, you know. It feels sort of, you know, like a campy Star Wars space opera kind of feel to it, not like overly CG'd monster creatures, but, you know, like people with just different color skin. It feels very spacey-wacy.
All right, so now let's move on to a topic that that Kat usually derides me for talking about in our movie discussions, but I'm sure that she will wholeheartedly jump into this one, and that is the film's music. What did you guys think of the soundtrack to this film?
Well, we have to completely separate the soundtrack from the score in this case, because normally we're just dealing with a score which none of us bother to pay attention to, but in this case, there was definitely some stellar stuff going on.
Haha, stellar. I see what you did there.
Hashtag sorry, not sorry.
All right. So...
Sorry, I'm still laughing at that joke. This is what it is. Yeah, this is the first film we actually have sort of a soundtrack, because Star-Lord has his awesome mix, Volume 1, and given to us by his mother, and because he was abducted in the 80s, so everything he has is from that time period. And there's so much nostalgia for a lot of the songs of that era. It's really hard not to sort of enjoy it. I think some of my concern with it is that sometimes the songs didn't match what was going on screen. But at the same time, it's kind of like you can only, I guess, work so much with it. So, I mean, I enjoyed the soundtrack for what it was, because the score, to me, again, was lost. After the fantastic, Winter Soldier score, we went back to sort of the bland, I really can't tell if this is from Guardians of the Galaxy, Thor 2, Thor 1, Avengers score, and completely forgettable. But damn, yo, have you heard that soundtrack? It's amazing.
I'm kind of... I like how the soundtrack serviced Star-Lord's character, and I like how it kind of tied him back to his roots on Earth and his history. It didn't super wow me. It was amusing in a few places, and I always do like juxtaposition of really upbeat music with terrible circumstances, like when they were going into the prison. But, yeah, I don't know. Neither the songs that they picked nor the particular actual score of the movie particularly stood out to me or stuck with me.
One of the best descriptions that I've heard for anything related to Guardians of the Galaxy was that the soundtrack is your equivalent of the everyman. It's instead of having a bland character who's there to have everything explained to them so that the audience has something to latch on to amidst all the weirdness, instead you just have this music, and the music kind of is what the audience can use to ground themselves and then and just sort of swim in the weirdness that is going on.
All right, so let's start wrapping things up here, giving our final general thoughts on the movie. So, Brian, you first. Final thoughts on Guardians of the Galaxy.
I enjoyed the film, but unfortunately, like I said earlier, since I'm not really a fan of these characters, towards the end I felt, yay, congratulations, good job, great film. That's it. I'm kind of done. And I'm not going to start. Unfortunately, I'm not going to start reading your book because of it. Because I just don't care about you guys. Now, if you had Beta Ray Bill show up, A++, 10 out of 10, 1,000,000 stars, it would be the greatest movie ever. But he didn't because his origins connected to Thor, and we have to wait for that. So, but like I said, good film.
John,
I enjoyed it immensely. I feel like it was a good setup. I feel like the sequel should hopefully be able to do much more than this one, because, it was groundbreaking in some ways and kind of by the numbers in others, but it needed to be in some ways to introduce the team. So I'm looking forward to the sequel just so I can see these guys bust out and go really genuinely nuts. So, loved this one and can't wait for Space Raccoon 2.
Kat?
This movie was perfect. There's a reason why it's going to be one of the highest rated on Rotten Tomatoes of all the Marvel films. It was fun and it was funny, and I really wish we would do more like this.
Okay. And well, I've already said my general thoughts on the film. Like I said, I didn't go into this film. I went into this film a skeptic, and I came out a believer. So definitely a film that I thoroughly enjoyed. So, all right, this is the part of the show where we give our final rating on the film. As always, our scale goes from best to worst. See it now, wait for matinee, wait for DVD, wait for rental, wait for cable, don't even bother. And Brian's rating, fuck this movie. So, Brian, why don't we start with you? What's your final rating for this film?
I'm always enthused I have my own rating. All right, is everyone sitting down? I give this, go see it now. Surprise!
Okay, Kat, what about you?
Go see this now. Don't even wait to hear what the rest of the people have to say. Just get the fuck out of this place and go see this movie.
All right, John, what about you?
Go see this movie right now, or else you'll make Rocket cry.
Rocket won't cry. Rocket will shoot you.
He'll cry and he'll shoot you, and you don't.
Or he'll give you a box with a bomb inside.
What's putting in the box gonna do?
Alrighty. Okay. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and make it unanimous and say see it now. So yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy, definitely a film worth seeing as soon as you can. It's in theaters now. Definitely check it out. And yeah. So that's all the time we have for Nerd to the Third Power this week. We'll see you next week for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and how that goes. So yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Dr. Gonzo.
I'm the Cat.
I'm Brian.
I'm John, and I'm wondering if it's too early to call in sick next week.
Yeah, no. All right, we'll see you next week. Talk up, play us out. But wait a minute, there's something that we missed. The after credits bit that is standard requirement for any Marvel film. So, Howard the Duck.
Howard the Duck.
Oh, good. I'm not alone in that. Okay.
What the
I was getting
fuck?
scared.
What the fuck? It's Howard the Duck.
How did this even? How? When I saw it in the theater, I was like, what? And they were like, it's Howard the Duck, from it. I'm like, I know what Howard the Duck is. Why?
Well,
Why?
they had Rocket, they had Cosmo. I guess they wanted to round out the Cosmo the space dog, I should specify. I guess they wanted to round out the talking animal collection of that side of Marvel Comics.
The story I've heard from James Gunn, the director, was we needed something there. We thought this would be funny.
And you know
I don't
what?
know.
It
I don't
was.
know, man. I don't know about that because I'm not the biggest Howard the Duck fan.
Here's what I found funny about Howard the Duck's presence in this film. Did you notice he wasn't wearing pants? And there's a reason why I'm asking that question. And the reason is because when Howard was first published, Disney actually launched a lawsuit against Marvel because they were scared that Howard was going to be confused for Donald. So they said, okay, you can publish this character, but only if you make him wear pants. Now Disney owns Howard the Duck, and you'll notice he has no pants.
Yeah, because Disney, quote, won.
Yeah. It has come full circle.
So, do we know if this is a tease for an actual Howard the Duck film, or is just
this is
a throwaway joke?
A throwaway joke.
It is. I can confirm that it is a throwaway joke. There are currently no plans for a Howard the Duck movie starring Seth Green because yes, that was who voiced him. But anything's possible. So it's just not in the pipeline right now.
Well, we didn't think, at least a lot of us didn't think that a movie with a machine gun toting raccoon would do well, but hey, we got proved wrong on that score. So, yeah, alright. So that's that. See you next week.